Everyone, please put your palms together to recite Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, we'll start the class. All Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master Hua, all Dharma Masters, all good knowing advisors, Amitabha, my name is Wei Guoshi. So continuing on from last week's stories, so we know that all Dharma teachings, it will all comes from nothing and then will go back into nothing, where everything is not equal. All Buddhas are not, Dharmas are not equal. Some are larger, some are smaller. They are not all equal. So someone who meditates, what they can see in the disappearing to nothingness, he is able to see the equalness, the duality in it. He would be able to see the inequality in the Dharma and the appearance of nothingness. That's what people who meditate should and cultivate meditation, they should be able to tell. So generally people who study Chan, they don't recite the Buddha's name. So they may think that they already have no false thoughts, and now they're being told to recite, to think of having the thought of reciting the Buddha name, then that's creating a thought when he's already trying to get rid of all his thoughts, all his false thoughts. But this is not what Dharma should be. So we are going to talk about the Surangama Sutra and Surangama Mantra. So in the Surangama Sutra, when Shakyamuni Buddha was going to the Samadhi. Now, if you're asking us now, anyone, any living being to try to go into the Shangama Samadhi, that's very difficult. It's very difficult. No one would be able to do that. So when we're reciting the Shangama mantra, we are breathing, we are having thoughts, we are thinking of how to recite it. So we are creating thoughts. But when you're reciting it a lot, then you'll slowly be able to recite it without having any false thoughts, any thoughts. So when the Buddha is reciting it, they are able to have limitless appearances, limitless ways. So when Buddha was reciting the Shangama mantra in the Samadhi, they were not having any thoughts. They were not having anything. It was just appearing. So it is very difficult for us to be able to do that. But if you're reciting it a lot, slowly you'll be able to become more and more similar to the Buddha state, where you would not need to be thinking of how to recite the Shangama mantra. And if you keep cultivating it, then slowly you would be able to go into the Shangama, the Samadhi state. Now, so let's continue. One of the stories from before, when someone went to CTB, City of 10,000 Buddhas, they really liked to meditate, and they had some insights from it. So they told Master Hua, and Master Hua said, "Oh, you should practice meditating." So meditated, and he started to gain some reflection, some insight. And so we know when we're meditating, most of us, our energy, our chi, it is it is circulating throughout your entire body. It's from your hands to your feet. There's a lot of chi. There's a lot of energy everywhere. Um, so when we're meditating, we are closing our hearts. We are not. Our chi is slowly closing. They're closing from our hands, our feet, all the way to our diaphragm. So once the chi is all in the diaphragm, so he was able to cultivate that. After that, he was wondering what was the next step. So no one taught him, so he just kept sitting, kept meditating. Um, and one day, so when he was speaking, we say about 3 to 5 minutes. But when he was sitting, he realized the time started to go for longer. So the energy, the chi from his diaphragm, it started to go back towards the spine. So you can learn there is a pressure point in Chinese medicine. It's called the one of the life pressure points. So the energy, the chi, went towards that pressure point, and they went up, going up the spine, and it kept going until it went to the chest, which is another pressure point. And the chi was just on the back of the chest. So next he was wondering, what should I do? He kept meditating, and no one told him or taught him how to do. So he just kept sitting, and he just waited for a long time. This meditating took a while. And so he was thinking, I should ask Shifu about it still. So he walked out and he was looking for Shifu. And so usually when Shifu's in the Buddha hall, there's a lot of people waiting around. So if he wanted to interrupt, it was very difficult, and he didn't want to, interrupt when other people are asking questions, just to ask his own question first. So he didn't want to do that. So he just stood on the side, looking and just waiting, and then after he left. So then waited a long time, and then one other day, he noticed that no one was besides Shifu, and he was really happy. He ran very quickly to Shifu to ask his question. Now, so he's American, and so he understands a bit of Mandarin, but he's not very good at speaking in Mandarin. So obviously in English, he is able to explain himself clearly, but ask to ask the question in Chinese, he struggled with it a bit. He was thinking of how to ask. So because he never got a chance before, he wasn't prepared to ask the question. He was very nervous to speak in Mandarin. So he kept saying, Shifu, he couldn't think of what to say because he was really nervous, and it took him by surprise. So Shifu just turned around, and Shifu hadn't been, looking at him, thinking of what he's saying. Shifu just looked at him one glance, and then Shifu said, "Oh, go quickly, go, you should go sleep." And so when Shifu used to say these things, no one would ever ask Shifu why. Whatever Shifu asked, they would quickly go do it. So Shifu told him to go sleep, so he didn't say anything, and he just left, and he went to go sleep. So when he was leaving, he was thinking, I wanted to ask about meditating, but now you're asking me to go sleep. These are two different things. But he was like, okay, well, Shifu told me to go sleep. I'll go sleep first. So he was sleeping, and so he was sleeping the common grounds. It wasn't his room or his own land, he went sleeping outside. So sleeping outside uh he was sleeping outside outdoors, he was sleeping in the bathrooms. And so it's not like he was sweeping from 8 a.m. in the morning all the way to the night. Obviously, sometimes it's not always dirty. After a while, sweeping, it wouldn't be dirty anymore. So it wasn't a continuous um, job. You're still able to study, to cultivate the usual. So it wouldn't interrupt your daily routine. So when he would still need to rest, when he needed to eat, he was still able to do so. So this took about, he did it for about 3, 4 days. And he was like, okay, I guess I will go back and meditate. So he went to meditate again and he sat for a bit. And because he was so used to meditating, that she was very quickly, he was able to uh, bring the chi to his diaphragm. And there, she went towards his spine and all the way up to his chest, and automatically, suddenly, the chi continued to go up. And he was really surprised. He was like, "Oh, it went through. I didn't. It's I just swept. I didn't do anything, but it came through. The chi came through. It kept going up." And then he was thinking immediately, suddenly he thought about, oh, I'm a very selfish person. I had become a monk, and all I thought was I should cultivate because I'm a monk now, and I shouldn't do anything else because I should just cultivate. So, but if you think, you know, uh, you'll always have someone who comes after you in a temple. And so there were people that came after him that had become left home after him, and he would tell them, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." And so, and this moment, he suddenly thought, he's like, I just realized I'm very selfish. I'm not compassionate. I've always told other people to do things, but I never did it myself because I wanted to cultivate. So he gained insight on this. He thought about this. So he said this to me himself. So then he improved with his meditation after that. So I wanted to focus on more on the chi being centered towards the diaphragm. So I'm sure everyone knows that when we all pass, when humans pass, when living beings are passing, our body also knows that the time is up. It's almost over. The time up is almost up. That you're and the body wouldn't need you to do anything. The body will slowly conserve the energy, slowly, slowly, slowly towards your diaphragm, slowly all the way up to the back to your chest to protect the heart, to take care of the heart in the last moments before you pass. So the chi will first give up on your hands and feet. It will focus fully on your heart. So a heart, there is a nerve that is connected to our brain. Now, when you're conjuring all the energy towards your heart, the nerve will go all the way, will send it with the brain. So the brain will uh, also get the energy, and the brain will see a lot of the memories from before. So that's why often, we see a lot of memories, our past memories that we've forgotten are when we were 3 years old, when we were 5 years old, things that we've forgotten that suddenly your brain will suddenly remember. You'll play like a life story, kind of. So often that's why we say when someone almost passes, your life replays in your brain. So often when you cultivate Chan, meditate, you learn to control the chi to know where to manage the energy instead of letting it just circulate wherever. So let's talk about the second story. So this happened in 1987 or 1989. I kind of forgot. But we held the land and water ceremony. And so Venerable Master vowed in the very early years to bear sufferings on behalf of all living beings. So we had the Dharma assembly to liberate beings on the land and water, and there were about 100 people that monks and nuns that had come to visit, and they all lived in the back mountain. Then, so every day after one evening ceremony, Master Hua would drive little three his three-wheeled golf cart. Now it's now four wheels, but back then it was three wheels. And so he would drive his little golf cart. He would go to the back mountain to go check on the nuns and monks, the monks and nuns that were visiting, to make sure that they had everything. Do they need water? If there's anything they needed. So he would go check on them to make sure they're all welcome. Now, there was one monk that kept burping. They kept having burping. They kept having burps. Every few minutes, he would burp a bit. So everyone didn't take it too hard. They thought, I mean, it's not really a sickness; it's just a situation. So the monk was saying, when he got on the plane before, 3 to 5 days before he came, he suddenly had this problem of burping. And by then, to go to the doctor, it was too late. He was rushing to come to CTB. So he was like, okay, I'm not going to go see the doctor. I'll just come over with the assembly. So Shifu asked, oh, so where did you come from? What is your Dharma name? How old are you? Shifu was just asking some very normal questions. But while Shifu was asking, Shifu was already helping him. But the monk didn't realize that his sickness actually just was hooked over. So when Shifu finished talking, and Shifu said, "Okay, go rest. Okay, goodbye." And so when Shifu left, um, Shifu went onto his golf cart. Once he sat on there, now Shifu started burping. So Shifu had taken his burps and taken for his own. And I'm sure then the Dharma Master got well after. So we know, for example, if you have a really good friend, or if they got sick or any situation, or maybe your best friend, you don't know what they did, but they went to hell. They went to hell and they are suffering a lot. So how would you save them? So the quickest way to save them is to go down to hell and to tell them, yes, I know they need to get killed, get hurt, get hit. Please let him go and I can take it. I will be here in his stead. So this would be the fastest way to immediately take care of them, to relieve them of their suffering is to transfer it to yourself. So Shifu in that case did that. So when you see it really happening, you realize how difficult this is, and it's very rare. And it was really, really compassionate. So, so next, we can talk about Texas. When Shifu went to Texas, it was probably also around 1989. And so probably around over 10 people went with Shifu, and they went to Texas University, University of Texas. Um, University of Texas has invited them over to ask Shifu for a lecture. So in Texas, there were not that many temples back then, and eating was a problem. And so there was someone who was really nice. He would take his car and take everyone out to eat. So when everyone was eating, I'm sure everyone knows, uh, all the restaurants have chopsticks and wrapped in the tissue. And then once you finish eating, you toss away the tissue and you toss away the chopsticks. Now, when Shifu had finished eating, yeah, he did something very special. He took another napkin and he wiped the chopsticks clean and he put it in his pocket. And people looked at it and they were wondering, oh, that's odd. Why did he do that? But they didn't ask. No one asked. But after one, two, three, four meals, they noticed that Shifu kept doing this. So they told them, they were like, oh, Shifu, actually, after you finish eating, you can toss the chopstick. Maybe the person thought it was a bit embarrassing that, that we were saving chopsticks. But Shifu heard it and he told them, I'm not like you, so wasteful. And so after that, no one said anything. But Shifu didn't ask everyone else to be like him, to wipe the chopsticks and put them into the bag pocket. He said, everyone can do whatever they want. I will do what I want. So after a while, they finished and they went back to California. So someone was very nice. The person who took everyone in his car. So because back then there wasn't TSA security. So when they went to the airport, there were still about roughly an hour or so before the flight took off. But now to go out to eat and then come back, there definitely was no time. So they were wondering, what do we do? So the person suggested that let's all just sit in the airport in the seats and I can grab everyone bentos to eat. So if there's time, we can all eat in the lounge and sit and wait at the airport, eating the bentos. But if we didn't have time, then it's okay. Everyone can eat bentos on the plane. So everyone thought that this was the best solution at that moment. So the person was like, okay, he ran out and he took his car, he ran out, he went to buy the bentos and he brought them back and then he gave it to everyone, to let everyone eat. They're all planning on eating at the airport. So once they distributed everything and were about to eat, they realized that, oh, he was rushing too much, so he forgot to bring chopsticks. And so he didn't have chopsticks. And Shifu didn't say anything, but Shifu just uh slowly took out all the chopsticks in the pockets. And he took the exact amount. And once he gave everyone a chopstick, it was the exact amount that was needed, as if Shifu had known that, oh, we would have this karma that we would need have no chopsticks and we would need. And so he didn't let anyone know. He didn't tell anyone. He just he just resolved it by just slowly keeping all his chopsticks, and so that everyone had chopsticks to eat. So this looks like something that's very normal, but when you think about it, it is something that is very difficult to do, to know how to, resolve the karmic obstacles rather than telling everyone and making everyone fearful of it. You just naturally resolve this without causing any stress on anyone else. So another time when she went to the South Central region in Taiwan in 1989, Burma Master Hua, he went to the Taiwan and he said, I'm not going to eat. I'm going to save the blessings for the beings in Taiwan. So when he went over, someone brought a chair for to like a chair right outside the temple, and it was facing away from the temple. And so Shifu said, when you see me when you're going in and out of the temple, don't bow, don't half bow, just keep doing what you need to do. Don't keep bowing or ask how am I or talk to me. Just don't talk to me. So Shifu just sat there, and so all of us just listened to what he said, and no one talked to him. No one just everyone went about their day as usual. So a nun coming from outside. She was very sincere. So Shifu was sitting there and so everyone said don't bow, but she kneeled down crying and she asked, please help my temple, help my monastery. There's things happening, and she was saying all these things. Um, but Shifu didn't ignore her. So she came 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and she did the same thing every day. So the third day she did that. Remember, Master Hua said the fourth day. The Shifu said the next day after morning ceremony, we finish around 5 a.m. Um, this temple will have a car, like a van, a seven-seater van will come from that temple, uh, will come and pick us up to take us to their temple. And Venerable Master Hua said, let's go. I will pick, and he picked out the same people. He picked out specific people to go. And he said, because she's very insincere, she has touched me, so let's go. Because Shifu originally was not going to go out at all during their ceremony. But because of how sincere she was, he decided to go and he asked specific people to go. So everyone listened to what Shifu said, and they said, okay, these people are going, and they all got ready. So the next day, right at 5 a.m., everyone got in the car. Now, at the time, there was the Guanyin session, and so there was the one of the uh monks that was the one standing in the middle was also called away by Shifu. So there was no one else to stand in the middle. So everyone else, all the other people had gone. So they had asked the next person, the fifth person to also come out to stand in the middle. And everyone was asking him to come stand in the middle, and then he was saying, no, 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 I should not stand in the middle. Shifu didn't tell me to stand in the middle. And everyone was like, oh, Shifu probably just forgot, just come. And then he kept saying no, 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 but everyone kept asking. So he ultimately he did stand in the middle. And so the car, anyways, the seven-seater car, they drove all the way to the South Central region. And I'm not gonna say which district or which area it was. But so the temple was very similar to all the general Chinese temples or monasteries that you've seen before. Um, the Buddha Hall is a very large. And in front of the Buddha Hall, there was a bunch of um, halls that were the five sages, and they were the five different bodhisattvas. There were five different bodhisattvas that were sitting in the five houses across, and they call it the five sages town and hall. And then after was the Buddha Hall. And then after that, there was a special area where their old master was living. Their high master was living. So as soon as we came down from the car, we saw that there were a lot of smaller houses that were not directly across from the Buddha Hall. They were like diagonally across. It was a bit odd. Why was the temple built like this? They were having questions on that. So when Shifu came down, everyone else had gone towards the Buddha Hall, but Shifu, when he got down, he immediately walked towards the small little buildings that were diagonally across. And so everyone saw Shifu, and then someone was like, okay, I need to walk towards Shifu because I can't leave him alone. Maybe he needs help or anything. So I followed Shifu, and Shifu walked towards there, and he went inside, and I walked in, and then I saw they were not Buddha images. They were um small little um statues that were like the more traditional customs in Taiwan that were not they were not Buddha images, they were different statues. And there was something it was very adorned, and we didn't know what it was. So Shifu, as soon as he went in, usually Shifu would go bow, but Shifu looked at the statue and he did not bow, and he spoke with the statue. I was really surprised. I'd never seen Shifu do this. But Shifu, you could see Shifu's mouth was moving, and obviously I couldn't hear anything. But we don't know what Shifu said, but Shifu just nodded, and then the statue jumped or went up and down twice, or and the table that held the statue was also wood. So this wood statue knocked on the knocked on the wood table, made also like the knock knock sound, and clearly they were responding to Shifu. And so Shifu then responded again. They were speaking. This took about 3 to 5 minutes, and I was really surprised. I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't ask. But it was the first time I've ever seen this. So I was like, okay, so we all left. And so back on the car when we were taking the ride back, they were saying apparently something happened at the temple, at the monastery, that probably wasn't really following the rules. And the Dharma protectors was punishing them. And so they got very scared. They thought that it was a ghost at the temple or something, but it's actually not the ghost. It was one of the Dharma protectors. And so the Dharma protector was telling Shifu, and Shifu was telling him to not do this. And the Dharma protector was promising that I will not scare them anymore. I will let them cultivate. So once they all drove all the way to Taipei, and it was about 4:30 p.m., the sun had already gone down. So when we walked outside the Buddha Hall in Taipei, the door was open, and Shifu turned around and saw inside, and Shifu saw someone standing in the middle. And Shifu asked, "Who's standing in the middle?" And I couldn't say, oh, no one's there because everyone could see who was there. So I had to say, oh, it was who. And Shifu heard, and his cane, he hit the ground. And Shifu said, when did I say he could stand in middle? That's a way of a robber that he stole this. Um, so Shifu then I didn't say anything, and Shifu walked back to his room. So originally I was gonna immediately go inside to the Buddha hall to quickly tell him, oh, Shifu's back, but I didn't get a chance. So by then at 5 p.m. the ceremony finished, and when I went to see again, the person who stood in the middle was kneeling in front of Shifu. And Verbal Master was saying, why did you do this? Why did you do this? So usually other people would say, it's not my fault. They asked me to, but he didn't. He knelt there, and you could see that he was very calm. He was very serene. He was not upset or trying to justify. He didn't say anything. He just waited there, letting Shifu tell him to berate him. And then Shifu said, okay, fine, go back. So the person bowed to Shifu 3 times. And of course, we didn't know, but Shifu was blessing him. Um, And so to stand in the middle, it's very difficult because you are carrying a lot of people. This is what I'm assuming. You are taking in a lot of the living beings' afflictions and their karma in on them. So it's very it has to be someone's that Shifu asked to stand in the middle, or else, sometimes some people can't take all the karmic obstacles there. So Shifu berating him was trying to take away all the karma that he has had absorbed from all the living beings. So the next story, I don't remember what year it was, but there was one day I was doing meal offering and I was going into the Buddha hall. And when I walked in, the abbot was coming in from the other end and was also going to come to the Buddha hall. And I, of course, let him to come to go in first. But suddenly he turned around and he just said, "Oh, this person, he hasn't appeared. Can you check if he's sick? If he's sick, please take him to the hospital. Make sure to not make sure he doesn't stay sick and everything." And so I quickly said, "Okay, I'll go." So I saw another American that was walking towards the Buddha hall, and I asked the American, I was like, "Oh, let's go to check on the person together." So we walked towards the person's room, and when we knocked on the door, came in, the smell was very bad, and he was really sick. And the person was embarrassed. He didn't want to ask for help. He was saying, "I'm sorry, he had defecated and he had vomited. He was really, really sick, deeply sick." Um, and so then I didn't know what to do. I never met this kind of situation before, that they had vomited and they um had a lot of issues. So now my friend, beside the American was there, Peter was there. So you might know him, you might not, it's not important. So Peter immediately just carried from the side, he got new bed sheets, kind of like a cloth, and he immediately covered the monk, wrapped together, and he immediately ran outside. He had an immediate reaction. He quickly ran outside, and my car was right outside. So immediately we drove all the way to the hospital to go to the emergency room. So he stayed there. And then I was thinking, I was like, wow, you can't tell usually. They are just joking, they're just chatting, we're all very chill, but when there's something happening, they immediately act on it. And this reminded me of another one of the Dharma brothers. This is around 1982 or 1983. There was a kid who was about 3 or 4 years old, and so he looked possessed. For some reason, it seemed like something bad was inside him. And so he would make a lot of weird sounds, or in his face, his expression were distorted. And even his parents were kind of worried and scared, and they couldn't go close to him. So at that time, there was also another American that saw that. One of my Dharma brothers immediately uh carried him. So this is a story from a bhikshu that told me this. So I also checked with the American Dharma brother if that was true, and the American brother also said, yes, that's true. This happened. So, the American Dharma brother, immediately picked up the kid, and then he patted the back of the child. Mm. And he kind of said, it's okay, come, don't worry." And so the kid originally was crying and upset, but as soon as he patted down, he slowly, slowly calmed down. And once he calmed down, he was okay now. He wasn't making the weird expressions anymore or feeling like possessed. And it was really interesting because it's not someone that it wasn't his relative. The relatives were scared. They didn't want to come close to him, but the stranger who didn't know him that picked him up and comforted him to calm him down. So it is very this to be able to do this, I think, is very difficult. You really have to see it to really feel, understand how hard this is to do, or how compassionate or how selfless you are to do this. So it's like a reflex. It's not like they're trying to think about how to do it. He immediately just naturally did this. So I was very surprised to see that the Dharma brothers and sisters and the CTB would do this. Okay, so this is the end of the session today. Please put our palms together to dedicate the merit.
愿以此功德庄严佛前德，上法四重恩，下济三途苦。若有见闻者，悉发菩提心。今此一报身，同中极乐国，顶礼老和尚。好，大家弥陀佛。